Hurricane Ian made landfall on Wednesday, September 28, 2022, with early images showing its devastating effects in the Fort Myers area and other parts of southwest Florida. An 11 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center brought Ian's winds down to 90 miles per hour, making it now a Category 1 hurricane. Ian made landfall in Florida with winds of 150 miles per hour, nearly as strong as Category 5. Tampa Bay conditions remain serious, with Mayor Jane Castor stressing to residents that the next 24 hours will be the most dangerous in Tampa. Nearly 485,000 blackouts have been reported in the Tampa Bay area. And more than 1.8 million homes and businesses lost power in Florida. Tampa Bay Times photojournalist Zachary T. Sampson and photojournalist Douglas R. Clifford had left their hotel room in Fort Myers on Wednesday night and have searched the area and assessed the damage from Hurricane Ian for hours. Their latest finding is surprising. Part of the causeway to Sanibel is gone, swept away by a powerful Category 4 hurricane. Another part of the street folded like an accordion and was torn into ribbons by a strong storm. Officials say 291,620 Tampa customers are without power, and about 191,000 people in Pinellas County are also without power, and another 25,945 in Pasco County are without power. Meanwhile, the building alarm blared, the wind still rustling in the city center just before midnight. Shin-high gray water flows down 1st Street outside the United States Courthouse. Small pieces of garbage washed away with the current. Water still fills several streets in the neighborhood around McGregor Boulevard, southwest of downtown. It hovered in the center of the white mailbox pole. Several houses glowed in complete darkness, generators humming. Chopped branches and several intact trees littered the lawn. Several pickup trucks got stuck on the road to Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel Island. One of the drivers had the boat to inspect. Mayor Ken Welch said St. Petersburg firefighters and other city employees will assess the damage from Hurricane Ian Thursday morning at first dawn. Thursday morning crews will search for fallen trees and downed power lines. The work will make it easier for Duke Energy to start restoring power. We've seen this amazing video of Ian's massive storm surge and flooding across the west coast of Florida and a lot of things being washed away. Checking the water rising outside his second-floor apartment. The boat was the last thing Fort Myers resident Gage Long thought he'd find him in the dark right on his balcony. As soon as I saw the 5-foot boat from my window, that's when it became real. Long explained that he could see the Caloosahatchee River from his balcony. He lives in Fort Myers River District downtown, but originally from Georgia. Now numb to the incessant sound of his apartment building fire alarm, the overwhelming flood was something else he didn't expect when he decided to stay put when Hurricane Ian came ashore. You think a lot about wind and about debris and other stuff, but this is actually the first time I've seen water this high. I've never seen it this high, and it's a bit scary, said Long. Long said the first floor of his apartment building was already submerged, along with cars on the street. Gage had no idea who owned the ship or where exactly it had drifted from. Hurricane Ian left a path of devastation in southwest Florida, with the earliest videos and images showing the streets of Fort Myers turning into rivers as water rushes in before landing. The roof of the Port Charlotte ICU was damaged and the newsroom set of a local TV outlet was flooded and forced the broadcast to end. In Port Charlotte, along Florida's Gulf Coast, storm surge flooded a hospital's lower-level emergency room even as strong winds tore through the roof of its intensive care unit, according to a doctor who worked there. Water gushed into the ICU, forcing staff to evacuate the hospital's sickest patients, some of whom were on ventilators, to other floors, said Dr. Birgit Bodine of HCA Florida Fawcett Hospital. The staff member used towels and plastic trash cans to try to clean up the drenched dirt. As long as our patients are doing well and no one has died or had a poor outcome, that's all that matters, says Bodine. The medium-sized hospital has 4 floors, but patients are forced to only 2 because of the damage. Bodine planned to spend the night there just in case people injured by the storm arrived needing help. He said the worst wave was behind them and the water level was slowly dropping. This is without a doubt the strongest hurricane in southwest Florida history. Stay strong, we're almost through it. I think of all of you. We will rebuild the community we know and love. Law enforcement officials near Fort Myers received calls from people trapped in flooded homes or from concerned relatives. Appeals were also posted on social media sites, some with videos showing debris-covered water pouring onto the roofs of houses. Hurricane Ian pushed the water out of Hillsborough Bay. Along Bayshore Boulevard, Hurricane Ian's winds carried the water out of Hillsborough Bay. A spooky scene that also happened in 2017 during Hurricane Irma. The video shows a time-lapse from weather cameras and ground video of the Fox 13 crew. Brittany Haler, a journalist in Pittsburgh, contacted rescuers about her mother in North Fort Myers, whose house was submerged in 1.5 meters of water. "We don't know when the water will recede. We didn't know how they were going to leave, their car was destroyed, and his only way out was by boat." The vast stretch of coastline from Naples to Sarasota appears badly affected by the brown waves crashing against roads, cars and houses as terrified residents seek shelter. The storm was so big that nearly the entire state faced warnings about its possible impact, with officials fearing inland flooding that extended up to 2 feet in some areas and more storm surge along Florida's Atlantic coast on Thursday, when Ian is expected to cut diagonally into the peninsula and is expected to move offshore around Daytona Beach on Thursday evening, before turning north towards Georgia and South Carolina. The storm first made landfall on the barrier island of Cayo Costa, west of Fort Myers, and then on land near Punta Gorda, about 25 miles north of Fort Myers. The wind was so strong at Robert Goodman's house in the Gulf Harbor area of Fort Myers that he and his son-in-law had to physically hold on to their sliding door to hold it in place. He was under mandatory evacuation orders but decided to stay at his home. Lilia Catani, 40, rode the storm with her husband and their 2 toddlers in South Fort Myers, in another area under mandatory evacuation orders. "Water came in through the front door," he said, "and was also blown in through their second-floor window. We have tried to do everything we can to keep the kids entertained and not let them see how scared we are when the storm hits." Later in the afternoon, Catani said via text that her and her husband's car had literally sunk in their garage. "It's the ocean all around us." Video shows storm surges on Fort Myers Beach reaching almost to the roofs of some one-story houses, with streets turning into rivers. To the west, a large swath of the barrier island of Sanibel also appeared to be underwater. Forecasters are projecting up to 18 feet of storm surge in some areas, though DeSantis says it may peak at 12 feet. The water level in Naples reaches more than 6 feet above normal high tide. The most vulnerable communities above and below the Gulf Coast are already under evacuation orders that many are watching. Even Outback residents seek shelter. Buses of farm workers arrived at a high school in Plant City, Florida, east of Tampa, Wednesday morning, to escape their mobile homes. He decided his days of ignoring storm warnings were over. On Wednesday, he was one of more than 6,000 people who arrived at shelters in Hillsborough County, including Tampa. Hembry, who retired from a job cleaning oil tankers and uses a wheelchair, lives in a shelter at Irwin Technical College that has been reserved for people with special needs. "I live 2 blocks from the Hillsborough River," he said, pulling a cigarette outside the building and saying, "We're not going through this again." Florida has one of the strictest building codes in the nation, the result of construction rules adopted after Hurricane Andrew destroyed tens of thousands of homes in South Florida in 1992. In more recent hurricanes, such as Hurricane Irma, structures built under the modern code have performed better than older buildings. In contrast, in states without mandatory and current building codes, such as Tennessee and Kentucky, the damage from extreme weather tends to be much worse. Although the full extent of the havoc Hurricane Ian wreaked in southwest Florida will not be known for some time, other parts of the hurricane-hit state assessed their flood damage on Wednesday. The death of a 34-year-old man in Martin County, on the northeast coast of Palm Beach County, is being investigated in connection with the storm. Officials said the man was clearing debris in the yard and was found face down in 10 inches of water. Tornadoes were reported in Broward County, overturning small planes, stripping house walls and uprooting trees. Iko Karesalids and his friend Dea Tinikashvili have prepared as well as possible by storing important documents in vacuum-sealed plastics and supporting large equipment in the carport from the ground. The washing machine is on the bricks and the clothes dryer is on the chair. At one point during a storm, they found a man standing in a corner in the pouring rain holding his bag of belongings. His house was flooded and he fled on foot and they took the stranger into his house. I feel like they didn't prepare us for this, said Tinikashvili, regretting that warnings from local officials were not strong enough. They don't say be prepared for 1 or 2 feet of water in your house. In Lee County, however, an emergency alert system warned residents by telephone to go to the highest places in their homes if water entered.